I bought one of those for Mexico a couple years ago when we were going to be out in the middle of the jungle forever. And I'm telling you, I just about gave myself a like aneurysm sucking on that straw with that filter on there. It was
That's
like
not
I could, I
that's
was
not
like,
wrong.
like I could not get the water out of that thing. I'm
It's
like, forget
part of the reason why I don't really use it anymore. I'm just saying. Welcome to the Travel Genie Show. My name is Corey, along with my fellow former cast member Joel, our DVC member Allie, and then our feet on the ground annual pass holder Sharon. We also have Brandy, who's not with us today. She's enjoying a very fun vacation. She's also a former Disney cast member. That was a mouthful. Anyway, so I was thinking the other day, whenever whenever you book new people, I always have like a set few things that like I try to talk to them about as far as like, especially if they're new to Disney, because like I know we usually get some of those sometimes. So I have one or like they haven't been in a long time. What do y'all usually like tell your clients whenever it's their like first time or like 20 years since they've been?
it.
A lot's changed since the last time you were there. It's a
More
little bit complicated
complicated.
now. It's more complicated now. Yep.
It is more complicated. I mean, it's a lot more complicated if like you want it, like if you make it that way. But like, I don't know, it's usually like packing stuff or, reservations. What do y'all usually say?
Well, I definitely think there's more, like if we're talking about, like you guys just said, it's different now than it was 20 years ago, for example. There's just a lot more to plan ahead of time. I think you
Yeah.
can, I mean, you still can have a spontaneous Disney vacation and not plan if you want to torture yourself, and not plan a lot ahead of time. But now I mean, you could plan every single facet of your trip ahead of time.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, one of the things that I usually tell my first time clients or clients that are, headed to Disney for the first time is one, don't plan everything. And then um I totally spaced on what the second thing was.
Well, I mean, even that, because like you see the moms and the families that like I've literally seen moms that have like the binder
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it has like a copy of the reservation and a copy of this and a copy of the
my
fast pass when they
mother-in-law
were
does that.
paper. I was like, that's too much. I was like, I'm not carrying around some 10-pound binder. If that works for you, do it. But that is not for me. And I would never recommend people to have such a structured time because like you don't want to take away from the magic and take away from the fun. So like I think a little bit of spontaneity is good, but you still need a little planning.
Yeah, so I remember my second thing, which is know what you want to accomplish. Like
Oh, for
that's what
sure.
I always say. Like I always start with even before I book it and it's all signed, sealed, delivered. Is I don't know. Can we legally say that quote? Without paying royalties,
Too
but
late now.
I didn't sing it. I think. But no, I always
Thank you
say
for
like
not.
what do you like what do you want to get done and like what are you going for? Like some people are definitely more into the character meet and greet. Some people want to get on Guardians and Tron, and that's the only reason they're there. And so it that's that's where I think like that over planning comes in because people are
Hmm.
like, oh, there's 150 attractions and I'm going to do all of them in a 7-day vacation, and it's just you're not.
Well, especially
Yeah.
for the first timers. I mean, you can't, that's such a sage piece of advice for a first timer. Just don't feel like you have to try to do everything because
Yeah.
you won't be able to. You can't. You'll stress yourself out if you try. But
You'll be
hopefully you're
scared.
going to go back. You're going to go back a couple times, in the future so you can
Yeah,
some of the
it
stuff
took
you
me
don't get to do
living
the first
there.
time.
It took me living there for 4+ months to like ride to get to every attraction at Walt Disney
Mm,
World. Now I didn't go every day. It wasn't I wasn't there sun up to sundown, so I certainly could have done it in less time. But realistically, you're not going to get it done in a week unless you break your back and there's no lines. It's a
yeah.
non-peak season,
Yeah.
and it's just not worth it. Honestly,
Yeah.
like some of my most cherished memories from Disney are not riding Space Mountain. It's sitting on a bench eating a Mickey bar with my daughter. Like, and that's the stuff that doesn't get fit into schedules.
Yeah, and you don't plan ahead for that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Those little
for
moments.
sure.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
spilling my popcorn, and then that was one of my favorite. This is not at Disney World, but we were on a Disney cruise, and we had just bought the giant popcorn for, whatever, $10, and then we sit down, we're getting ready to watch Frozen, and my daughter's 3, sitting there eating it, and then it just fell, and of course you're horrified in the moment, but now I look back and I'm like, that was just a cute memory. So, you don't get those, like, you can't plan those. And so leaving
Mhm.
that openness in your schedule is so important.
Mhm. I do think though, as far as like things that you might want to be aware of as far as planning, a big one for me personally anyway, but also I think for any clients is the dining issue. So, you can't walk in to be our guest and see the beast if you feel like it, and if you don't have a reservation. So I do think that's one thing that's a smart thing, at least to make people aware of. Now they could choose to not make any dining reservations, but I think that setting that expectation, giving them the knowledge that, if you do want character dining or even non-characters, a lot of most sit down table service restaurants, you better have a reservation for that ahead of time. So that is one. I think people, might not want to be surprised. So a mistake to avoid by getting there and realizing, uh-oh, we can't sit down in the air conditioning anywhere because we don't have any reservations. So
I think
one
it's also like
one vote for planning.
I was like kind of going with it. I think it's also a good point to say, like, you don't have to plan the whole thing like to the minute, but like have ideas of what you want to do. So like whenever like I'm helping clients book the vacation, like I had one just recently, like in December, and they went during Christmas time, and I was like, okay, we need to talk about what park, what day, so we can kind of have ideas of where I can kind of send you in what direction. Um, are you doing a sit down? Are you going to have quick service? And then if you're going to do a table service restaurant, like we just said, it would behoove you to have reservations. Kind of I would say a mistake to avoid is if you don't do reservations and that's not your thing, that's totally okay. But I would make sure you're prepared to wait a little bit, because most of those reservations do have, if you're not aware, some people are still not aware. They've had it in place for quite a while now. Disney has a credit card guarantee. When you make a reservation, you do have to put a credit card down. It's just to hold your reservation. There's no charge to your credit card as long as you show up. So when you go to a restaurant and you go at 6:30 during dinner time and you're like, oh, why can't we sit down? And they have reservations. And a lot of times when I used to be a cast member, they're like, well, what if they cancel? And I said, I will let you know. But with the credit card guarantee, it's not likely to have a cancellation during peak time. So like definitely you can plan, but just kind of be broad. If we're going to be at the resort, let's go ahead and plan dinner. If we're going to be at the park, let's go ahead and plan, we're going to sit down for lunch at Yak and Yeti at Animal Kingdom or something. It's one of my favorite places, but you just want to make sure you have some of it planned for sure.
I
But
plan
yeah,
I plan a sit down restaurant every single day, whether that's at the resort or at the park. And that is one, it's a little better quality food than your normal hot dog, hamburger, grease filled meal. And then it does give you that opportunity to get out of the sun, to get off your feet. And so that's what I recommend. And we personally lean generally towards character dining because we have our 2 kids. And so it's perfect for them because it lets them, play with Mickey and Minnie and pose for photos while mommy and daddy can take a little bit of a mental recharge from, what's a long day in the parks.
Yep.
yeah.
This
One
is
of the
making
things,
me think. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go on.
No, I just, when you said get off your feet, and the long day in the parks, this is much more specific than a broader idea like planning your dining. But I would say to not wear a brand new pair of shoes the first day
Yeah.
that you're gonna hit the parks. I know people get so excited. They're like, I have my whole outfit planned, and they got these new, mini Crocs with all my little, what are those little things that people stick in the holes in the Crocs? Those
Pins,
little
or
Uh,
I'm sure they have a fancy
it's
name.
not a widget.
they're called Giblets
a,
or something.
yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a name for them.
Yeah,
No,
they're
it's
called something
called
like that. It's like a not,
it's
it's
called
like,
something.
yeah. But I know people, they stick those in there with all the little Disney stuff, and then their feet start sweating, or they go on a water ride, and then they start getting the blisters. It's like, no, you
Or
got to
they get
wear
in the
wear a
pouring,
pair of shoes you've worn before that know your feet.
Yeah, I
stuck
was
in
gonna say wear
the rain,
comfortable
stuck in the
shoes.
pouring rain with brand new shoes is
No,
not.
no,
Well,
no.
and wear comfortable shoes. Like I
Yeah.
know I prefer sneakers. So if I'm on my feet for 8 hours in flip-flops, it's gonna kill my feet. Whereas my wife is the
Yeah.
opposite. Like she could walk a mile in, 10 miles in flip-flops. And so
She
wear
wear
what's
flip-flops. She wears flip-flops to the parks.
yeah.
Whew.
Yeah.
I would be afraid they were gonna fall off.
She did break one once. So maybe this is a very specific piece of advice is bring two pairs with you or be
Bring a
prepared to
backup pair
drop
of flip-flops.
$35 on a pair of flip-flops. But
Yeah.
yeah, she had these adorable. They were actually Disney themed. They were not bought at the parks, but they were wicked cute. And yeah, the little whatever came out one day in the parks, and you can't. You have no choice at that point.
To
But they're
spend the
small
money on
enough.
a
You
new
could bring
pair.
two pairs and throw one in your day pack.
Yeah.
Um, one of one of the things that I was gonna suggest is a big thing that I recommend is think about your flow. And so like, we have two young kids. One of them is definitely, well, the last time we went, we had a napper. And so, we were constantly going back and forth between the resort and the parks. And so with that, you have to think about resort location, transportation, whether you're going to Uber or minivan or take the buses. And there's logistics to that. And so the first time we went, we stayed at Port Orleans, which is my favorite resort. Love Port Orleans, but not necessarily. Um, it is close to Magic Kingdom, but it's not necessarily close to the other parks. And so we lost a lot of time busing back and forth from the resort and with naps. And so after that, we were like, okay, well, deluxe is worth it because you're within walking distance to a park or a monorail to the park, and it's a lot quicker to get to back and forth. And so, especially if you're going to have that downtime in the middle of the day, which I know a lot of people do, that's that peak time of day. Like, take the day off, get out of the sun, go take a nap. But think about that logistics and the flow of your day. It's not just what park am I going to, but how am I going to do it and make it all work?
That's a good point too for especially for I think a lot of first timers are people who have little kids. And so that's a good point. I think it's more at least I feel like I have 3 kids and they're not little anymore. But thinking about that kind of stuff when you do have little kids is probably a bigger deal than when you're just by yourself, or if you're just with a friend or your spouse or something like that.
Or if you're
Um,
lucky enough, your kid will sleep in the stroller. Our
yeah.
daughter never slept in the stroller, ever, ever, ever. Our son does. We throw a blanket over the stroller and he's out. I don't know how that would work in, 95-degree July day. Probably not. I guess put the fans.
Those little fans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the stroller fans. But and actually, that's something to think about is we've definitely gone in the summer and you think about cooling yourself and your kids. Like that's a huge factor and um a mistake that I've seen a lot of people make where they get overheated, that heat exhaustion sets in. I've seen people get
People underestimate the heat in Florida when they're
Mhm.
counting pavement in the parks. There's some parks that are better for shade than others. I mean, Animal Kingdom, I love Animal Kingdom, but it is a humid hot park
the
in the
hottest
summer.
park of the
About the
4.
foliage. There's not a lot of relief there.
Yeah.
So yeah, people really underestimate what the heat will do to you here in Florida. And I mean, we're heating up already for the summer. We aren't even officially in summer yet, and it's hot already.
Yeah, grab your misting fan before you come down.
And cooling towels, your cooling
Well,
towels.
this is a good that's another good tip about packing. Like packing ahead of time. Like again, for a first timer who's never been there, what to expect. What do you want to pack? And Joel, I think you were talking about this too with the, $55 flip-flop replacement. You can, order on Amazon your cooling towel or your little misting fan, all that stuff, and pack it ahead of time instead of getting there and then being like, holy smokes, I gotta pay how much money for a Mickey cooling towel? But yeah, getting that packing list together, thinking about, maybe you don't get real super hot, then you don't need to pack that stuff. Maybe you want to, use your suitcase room for something else. But that's another good tip, I think, for first timers is to prioritize your packing
Yeah.
needs.
Yeah, I
It's
think
also like it. I was like, but the nice part is if you do forget some of your essentials, like it's usually available somewhere on property. We went on a Disney cruise and we somehow did not pack sunscreen. I don't know how we didn't pack sunscreen, but we did not pack sunscreen. So we were like Sebastian lobsters, like at the end of it, like we were so red at the first day. And I was like, we're gonna go to the merchandise store. We're gonna pay whatever they are charging for sunscreen. And again, kind of a mistake, but also just kind of relief if you forget it. It's there. I will say your little $6 to $8 sunscreen is gonna cost you more like 15 to 20 if you're at Disney, but they do have it. But try to go ahead and get it yourself and bring it ahead of time.
I had to do that the last time. I had to make the walk of shame to the yacht club store, and
Yeah,
yeah, it was like a 3-ounce bottle for
yeah,
you know
like twelve
One,
12
dollars.
one time
bucks,
use,
and I was
one time
like,
use.
well, sure beats the alternative. I am pale. I don't know if it shows up on screen, but I I need my
No,
sunscreen.
this is making me think of another. How do you guys feel about snacks? Like bringing your own snacks again
So
to maybe save some money. Like I know a lot of people will pack them from home and bring them, or they'll get, a grocery delivery with some snacks. And instead of paying, what's a Mickey bar these days? Anybody know, Sherida?
6.25.
$5.
Like $7.
6.75 or
Yeah,
something like
Yeah,
that.
6 or 7 bucks.
Not that you can't pack a Mickey bar, an ice cream bar,
free
I
on a cruise,
know.
by the
but
way,
but
through
you could pack, you could pack Mickey fruit snacks or like, I know they sell bananas with the Disney Chiquita sticker on it. And, you could do that kind of stuff. I don't know. You guys ever you take snacks into the park or
So
Not so
we
much.
so
No.
we all have an answer.
I was like, we all have an answer. I was like, okay, so like it goes in stages. So I don't, but we don't have kids. So we're big foodies and we don't have kids. We part of our Disney trip is the snacks, is the
Mm,
Disney snacks, not traditional snacks. I'm not talking about pretzels or turkey legs or churros or Mickey bars. I'm talking about like what is the unique thing going on right now? Like when we were at Disneyland a few weeks ago, it was Pixar Fest, and I was like, we have to find all the fun stuff at Pixar Fest. And it's stuff like that. We go to Epcot, like who's eating dinner at Epcot? We snack the whole world. Like we're big snackers, but that doesn't make sense when you have children who are hungry at random times throughout the day.
Yes. So we've done it a couple different ways. So the first time we drove down with kids, my wife got this great idea. She was, I've seen this with like songs of like, oh, play a song for the first time on a trip and that memory will last, or a scent or whatever. And so my wife got this idea. She's going to get a bunch of unique snacks and surprise my daughter. My daughter ended up hating them all. So we lugged literally like a gym bag of
of course.
snacks. Yeah, literally a gym bag of snacks down in the car, and my daughter refused to eat them, and I was eating them for like months after the trip. Um, we've all, so if you're gonna do that, at least pack maybe the favorite snacks and don't try new things because that just doesn't always go as planned.
Or try them out ahead of time before you leave.
Yeah, of course, even then I've seen the like, we've had our daughter and it's like the fruit snacks are her favorite thing, and then we buy 3 boxes and it's I never liked these fruit snacks. And it's like, okay. Um, but then we've also done the grocery delivery thing, and
Mhm.
I know we really liked that. And so like we have Walmart Plus or whatever, I think it's called Walmart Plus. Walmart Genie Disney Plus. And and I mean, you can just have it delivered right to your resort. They'll hold on to it, which was awesome. There's no fee for Disney resorts, at least. And they're clearly used to this. and you can just go pick it up from the front desk. I've done like the midnight Walmart run. There's Walmarts everywhere. And so my wife will get the kids to bed and I'll be tasked with this 100-item grocery list and, go do that. And we've liked that. But we also do snack in the parks. And I know, even my daughter, like she loves the popcorn, she loves the pretzels. Um, and so I don't think there is a right or wrong answer. I think there's just different methods to it, and some of it depends on the budget. And so, like, one of the reasons we will do the grocery delivery is, we really don't. You will either eat a, gourmet Disney restaurant breakfast, or we'll just do bagels and jet out in the morning, or the same thing with like lunch. We'll just do something simple or either extreme. And so it just works well to do the grocery delivery. And we know, we'll do it with like Gatorade. We don't even necessarily do it for snacks. We'll do it for Gatorade and water. And
Drinks is one of the easiest way to save
Yeah.
money on property is to, if you could get anything, get your cases of water or Gatorade or something and keep them in your room.
Yeah.
Water's expensive on property.
though free, if you ask for a cup of ice water at any restaurant, it is.
At any restaurant, and some of the snack stands, but not all of them have it, so.
Yeah.
And you
Cup of
want-
Pretty
water.
much anybody who has any of the places locations that have a fountain, like Coke fountain, all of them will give you water. It doesn't matter if you bought something, it doesn't matter which one it is. They know it's hot and they want you to stay hydrated. We don't want to call anybody out to come help you. They want to make sure you're hydrated. So please, everybody stay hydrated and drink
And
lots of water.
The last time I was there in the middle of summer, actually, a lot of them just had like a tray out with,
Yep.
a dozen cups of water, and you could just grab it and
Yeah.
go, and you didn't even have to talk to a cast member.
At the like kiosks, the snack carts, or the quick service?
The
No,
quick
it was
service.
the quick service, or what's that beer pubby place outside of Galaxy's Edge also does it.
Beer.
Oh, the
Oh, it's the, oh my God.
They
what is
literally
the
have
name?
like rotating beer selections and like
Yeah.
pretzels that look
Olga's,
fantastic.
Olga's, is that what you're thinking
No,
of?
no. It's
Are
when
you
it's
talking about
right-
in Galaxy's Edge, it's-
baseline tap house?
that
Yes.
one, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, when you said Galaxy's Edge, I thought you were talking about inside.
Yeah.
No,
'Cause it's
just
right-
out.
well, it's
No,
right
it's just over
outside.
just under the bridge or whatever.
Just
Yeah.
before, yeah.
Yeah. And you can meet Max the Goof there as well, or just outside at select times, or at least you could. Don't
I think that
character greetings change at all times, and it may not.
asterisk.
Yeah, exactly. But they actually had like a 5-gallon jug that you could just like get water and go. There specifically, but yeah.
Or I just take like my own plastic refillable. I mean, the water bottle filler stations are few and far between at Disney World. I mean, there are some, but I just fill it up now I know this is controversial because of the Florida water, but I just fill them up at the water fountain and like all day long.
Ditto.
Especially in the summer when it's hot, like I drink so much water. I don't have time to
You
go
see Sharon
over
is
and like
shaking her
get
head
ice
no.
water, What's
Florida
that?
water is horrible. Florida water is horrible.
I know, it
It's
doesn't
pretty
bother
shared.
me.
I mean, it's not like the cup of water is. I do
No.
think that it cold tastes better, but it's not like that cup of water is like
You could
Best,
also
best water in Epcot is the fountains right outside America Pavilion at Epcot is the best water in all of Epcot. Just saying.
bring the Crystal Lake flavor
Fountains.
pack to
That's
hide the
true.
flavor of the water in Florida.
You can buy filter bottles. Like I used to have one, but I don't right now because I just use filtered water. But like you can buy the water bottles that filter as you drink them, and so then you don't have to feel like weird about drinking Florida water, tap water. Because I was like,
I bought one of those for Mexico a couple years ago when we were going to be out in the middle of the jungle forever. And I'm telling you, I just about gave myself a like aneurysm sucking on that straw with that filter on there. It was
That's
like
not
I
that's
was
not
like,
wrong.
like I could not get the water out of that thing. I'm like,
It's part
forget
of the reason why I don't really use it anymore. I'm just saying, if you want filtered water, there are water bottles that will filter it as you drink it.
it. Yeah. There's a good tip for a first timer, right?
Yes. You can
Check
also, like,
check out your water bottles.
if you don't remember to bring a water bottle, buy you one. Just go to anywhere, buy one bottle of water. It's like $4 or $5, which is insane, but like go get you a bottle of water. It is what it is, and just fill it up. That's usually what we'll do. We'll buy one bottle. If we don't bring any with us, we'll buy one bottle because like they're big and they're metal. I was like, I'm not carrying this around, so I'll buy one bottle while we're there, and then we just fill it up all day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, uh, one of the mistakes that I see people make all the time, and I've said this before on this show, and I'll say it 100 times more, is do not show up for any of the shows, drone show, fireworks show, stage show, parade, 10 minutes before. People do it. Fist fights literally break out over it. Like, that's another tip. Like, respect those around you, but like, get to all of the shows 30 plus minutes before. Grab one of those famous snacks, the Mickey bar, the pretzel, the churros, Casey's hot dog,
The Dole Whips.
the Dole Whips. Yep. With rum, recommended highly. uh but get there early and then just relax and take in the surroundings.
Take in the magic, yeah.
Yes.
Especially because like when they expanded the area in front of the castle, there's so many more seating areas, there's so many more areas to see everything. It still gets crowded, but like if you want one of those nicer areas or a nicer view, you're gonna have to get there a little early because I've always seen people they're like running and it's like starting in 5 minutes, and I'm like, guys, I'm like, you needed to go 30 minutes ago.
It's too late. Yeah.
You're still
That's
going to
it.
see it. It's still going to be a great show, but optimal viewing, you should go at least 30 minutes ahead.
And if it's a New Year's Eve or 4th of July show or a party after hours show, get there 45 minutes to an hour early.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've seen people camp out a couple of hours if they really, really want their
Yeah, oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
they can have that. I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you don't need to get there 4 hours early. I've definitely seen that,
No.
but don't waste your time.
Until
Another tip.
you've spent your 2.5 hours there with the perfect spot, and then 5 minutes before the show come the people who inch right in front of you and put their kids up on their shoulders and have their big balloons in their ears and everything. And they would totally block the view that you've been saving for 120 plus minutes. But
I had that happen to me at my first Mickey's Very Merry Christmas party. We had just watched the parade. We had a front row seat for the parade, and then the way they time it, it's like 15 minutes later the fireworks start, and then sure enough, some tall dude walks in front of me. They've been there 45 minutes. Some tall dude with his kid on his shoulders walks in front of me, and I'm like, I just shook my head. Like, what? There's not much
That
you
also,
can do.
that also
Again,
makes me
respect
like,
those around you. Like,
that's a good tip for everyone.
I mean, it's also like just take in what's there. Like I've as many times that I'm getting like chills thinking about it. Like I am getting chills thinking about it. You just sit there and you're like, I'm here and it's hot and I'm sweating, but I was like, this is Disney. And I was like, I'm having such a great time. And I'm so happy we're here. I'm happy, we're here with hopefully people you love and all that kind of stuff. And it's just enjoy being there. Don't get caught up in the rush. So being a former cast member, I like to tell people part of the whole stuff with Disney World is Disneyland, as great as it is surrounded by a city, and it's very obvious that the city is right there next to you. Disney World was meant to be fully immersive. Every park, once you're inside that park, like in the park, you turn around, it's the park. You don't see a parking lot, you don't see buildings, you don't hear traffic. it's just the park. Take in what you're there for. You probably spent a lot of money to be there. Just enjoy it. Don't fuss over so many things. Just really enjoy the time you're spending there, hopefully with your family or your loved ones, even by yourself. I would be still have a great time by myself. But yeah, just enjoy your time.
I think that's a
I
great
think,
piece
yeah,
of
I think that's
advice,
the
Corey.
best tip of all.
Well, and
It is.
I kind of piggybacking on it is, don't sweat the small stuff. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you order a steak medium and it comes well done, speak to the people about it, but just, shrug it off. Like, if someone jumps in front of you in front of the parade, try to,
Mhm.
make peace with it, try to readjust yourself and try to take it in. But like, there's I mean, you can go to YouTube. Like, people get into literal fist fights and ruin their vacation. They yell at people and ruin their vacation. And you'll even see it there. Like, it almost seems like sometimes families hate each other. And um, the kids will get cranky. It's long days, it's hot, or it can even be cold. Like, that's another sub tip. Like, I see people show up in January and they're expecting to be 95. Like, no, it does get chilly in Florida. Pack that sweatshirt, or even a winter coat, depending on where you're coming from. But like, just try to, like I said, like, earlier, we had to go back and forth between the resort, and it ended up taking so much of our day. Literally hours were lost, busing back and forth and dealing with naps. And it's like, it was frustrating. But don't let it like it I didn't let it ruin my vacation, which is so easy to do. And some of that, I will say, is a shout out to my wife, because she would, like, be like, all right, Joel, it's, like, it is what it is. And we've been a million times. Hopefully you will get to go a million times and go, annually or every few years. And you'll get to do what you want to do. And really, the worst thing you could do is, like, you don't want to look back on your Disney photo that's hanging, in the living room, and remember it as, that was the time I got into a fight with that guy at the parade. Like,
Yeah.
or that was the time I was arrested in Orlando, Florida for the first, like, nobody wants those memories. Like,
I will say one of my favorite things, and I love looking at it every time I walk under the tunnel going into Magic Kingdom, is the plaque. And I know they have it at Disneyland too. And it says, "Here you leave today and enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy." And just do it. Like, the outside world is the outside world. Like, just enjoy.
Yeah, focusing on, like, I think a good way to, like, a takeaway is, like, kind of what Joel was saying and everybody was saying. What are the memories what are the things you want to remember and look back on about your trip? All the positive stuff, right? All the happy stuff. And so if you choose to seek those things out and focus on those, and maybe minimize or diminish the stuff that's not always so magical, you won't even care about that stuff by the time you get home and look at your photos and talk about all your stories with your family and everything. It'll all be all the pixie dust.
well, it's like the
There's only-
popcorn that my daughter spilled. Like, in the
Yeah.
moment, I was horrified. Cast members came running over, like, other guests were, and it was like, I don't know, it seemed like this ginormous event, like right before Frozen, with, like, literally the lights were dimming and, like, the popcorn everywhere. And it's like, it seemed like a catastrophic event. Like, the ship is going down. Like, this
Oh,
popcorn
God.
bucket has spilled popcorn everywhere. But like,
Stop
now
the
it's just
show,
like,
stop the show. Don't
yeah, right? Like, no, Elsa, go back. Uh like, but I mean, it just is what it is. And nobody cared, and especially, like, my daughter doesn't even remember that. Like, and
Mhm.
especially if I'd made a big deal out of it, it would have been now a memory, an event she would talk about in therapy in 20 years. But
Not
like,
not a good core memory, not a good core
yeah,
memory.
now it's just like, whatever. So yeah, just try to let that stuff go.
Yeah.
Things that are out of your control. Don't worry about it.
Yes.
Mhm.
Especially
Mhm.
with kids.
It's not worth it. And I will say, yes, especially with kids, and Allie, you can relate. Yeah, you only get your kids for a short time. So, when you're there, let go of the big stuff, enjoy the little stuff,
Mhm.
and yeah.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
would venture to guess that if I did ask my kids, like, you know, what are your most vivid memories or favorite memories from all of our various Disney trips that we've taken? I really can't imagine any of them would say anything that happened that wasn't magical. Like, honestly, I'm sure the takeaways that they have are all these wonderful memories instead of like a disastrous something that happened, which even though those things do happen to everyone, those aren't the things that we hold near and dear at all. So, or like maybe Joel's story, if we do now, we laugh about it and we're
Yeah.
not mad, you just laugh instead. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were gonna say is like when I think back, I certainly have like the happy memories, but it's not like I don't think of like, oh, that time I rode Space Mountain. It's just more of like, yeah, the happenstance events or just like I remember like when my dad forgot to pack something or like I don't know, like again, some of those funny things that are unexpected. Like I don't yeah,
My kids appreciate that I let them have, giant bowls of ice cream at
oh
beaches
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
for bedtime, like at 11 o'clock at night. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's the little things like that that they'll remember.
Like we went to the beach. We went to Cape Cod last year with my daughter, and she talks about the swing that was on the beach. She doesn't talk about anything
Mm.
else. That's all she talks
Aw.
about is the swing on the beach. And so you
Aw,
never know what's going to stick out.
sweet.
Um, what? Oh, Corey, you were going to jump in.
Oh, I was just gonna be like, we can talk all day. So it's like we
Well,
might need
I
to
so I
start
do have one. Well, I do have one
wrapping
last
up to
thing
somewhere.
that to throw out there. So you know, there are lines at Disney, and so there's different ways to pass the time. But we talk about like different things you can pack and being prepared for different things. Be prepared to wait in lines, and so whatever you need to keep your attention, your kids' attention, like you know, you know, back in the '90s, we just talked to each other, but I don't think that's a thing anymore. Um,
Not
so
so much.
yeah, so I've seen different things, coloring books and the flip game,
Headbangs.
whatever
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
head
Mhm,
headspace or whatever it is, like
mhm.
Yeah.
but just bring something with you to pass the time while in line.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
I've seen the families that they come and they like, you get in line, they get up, like, all right, it's gonna be like 180 minutes. And they kids sit down, they bring out their coloring books or their books that
Yeah.
they're reading. I'm like, definitely things to pass the time because if your kids can't handle the wait, it's gonna not be a fun line to wait in.
Yeah.
Well, and that's honestly, that's I know you're trying to cut us off, but no, I think that that's a good point. Is know your boundaries. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're not if you cannot wait or your kids cannot wait in a long line, don't wait in the long line. Like, and
Yeah.
if you can't go, like I see this mistake all the time. People try to do, we're gonna get there at 8 a.m. and we're gonna go till midnight, and then their kids are a wreck, and everybody's exhausted. Like, know your limitations and just plan accordingly. And now I'll stop talking because we could talk because
No,
we
I
could
mean,
talk for days.
for days. I was like, I think everything kind of comes together and we wrapped it all up.
Yeah.
Is there anything going on in Disney news? I know we saw a couple things.
Yeah, the second half of the Sherman brothers duo passed away this week. Richard, I think he was 95 years old. And for anyone who might not know who they were, I believe, directly hired by Walt originally back in the day to write music for, I know Mary Poppins is probably their well-known, best known, maybe, at least in my mind, for what they did. But they also wrote songs for attractions at the park. And I heard, I want to say, now I shouldn't be telling a story if I don't know the, the whole truth of it, but I think there was a time period where I know Walt's favorite song was Feed the Birds from
Yes.
Mary Poppins. And I
Yeah.
think that at the end of the day, for like a while, he would have he had a piano. I think it's still there in his office, and the Sherman brothers would write a lot of their songs there, and then play them for Walt. And at the end of the day, he would like to have them come in and play Feed the Birds to like before he left for the day, which is kind of sweet.
That's
But
cool.
so yeah, Richard passed away, so it was a little bittersweet, but he lived a good 95 years long life and wrote how many songs with his brother? Over 200 songs, I
Over
think.
200, and for what, like 27 movies and 24 TV film or TV series. Yeah.
What was it?
Yeah,
Tiki
pretty
Room.
amazing.
It's a Small World, I think, may actually be their most famous.
Maybe.
It's a Small World, the Tiki
I feel
Room,
like
and there's a
recently
great big
people
beautiful
know
world.
Oh,
from
yeah, Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow. Yeah.
Yes.
I think recently people know, like anybody who's watched Saving Mr. Banks has probably,
Yeah.
that's probably where they're recognizing the names from. So I think like
Oh
I
yeah,
immediately
Love
go
that
to
movie.
Saving Mr. Banks and Mary Poppins, which is a great movie. But
that is a good
it's,
movie.
I think a
Yeah.
lot of people relate it to that. But it's always interesting when it's the people you find out that like it was this ride and this ride and this attraction and this movie and this movie and that movie, and you're like, I didn't know, because like there's several Disney legends that just like compose so much for all of Disney
Yep.
songs, the parks and attractions and stuff. It's crazy. It was definitely a big loss, but he lived a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Yep.
know if it was his last work or not, but I know he came back for the little 100th anniversary short, and participated in playing some music for that. So
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's
That's
cool.
neat.
I think that was
That'd
just
be fun to
last
watch.
year or maybe 2 years ago.
Is
So,
that where they had all the Disney characters like
yeah,
yeah, and then at the end everybody was like together, like yeah, that was
yeah,
cute. And I didn't
yep,
know he wrote. Wow, that's amazing. That's
yeah,
neat.
he was involved in that.
That's cool.
So, and
Okay.
then,
So yes.
oh, no, I was gonna
More
say, I
news.
know that Disney released a little short clip that gave a little bit of a sneak peek into some of the songs that we will expect from the new Country Bears makeover rehab that's going on. So I know it's going to be a whole new world, try everything from Zootopia, You've Got a Friend in Me, a whole new world. So should
Interesting.
be interesting. I haven't released the official set list, but they gave a sneak peek into some of those songs and the recordings of them, and so it'll be interesting to see. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't ask this. I'm afraid of the results. But is
Oh no.
anybody excited about the new Country Bears? I am actually
I'm
more excited, I think, about the
I'm
new Country
curious now
Bears.
that it's like songs that I know. I'm curious to go see it. Like the only vivid like core memory I have of Country Bears is was it like the buffalo or whatever on the wall, and they click click
Yeah.
click 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 click
Mhm.
click 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 all the eyes, and I'm just like, my wife, it was the first time we went and she was like, what is this? And I was like, this is like a cult classic. And I was like, all I hear is the buffalo over here click 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 with all the eyes. And she was like, why is it so loud? And I was like, I don't know. But I was like, they might have even kept it, because I was like, weird things that are iconic, they just like leave in there. But I was like, I saw some of the bears and they look pretty similar, but definitely an update, which it's one of the originals, so it needed an update.
I know it's controversial, but I I guess I like some of the IP infused music because, like you said, I know it. So like, I know Try Everything. It'll be interesting to see, I guess, a bear sing it. But it's just, I don't know, it adds, like, I liked the old Country Bears, but I didn't really know any of the music. And so um it
It'll
just,
definitely make it more recognizable for kids.
yeah,
That's
Yeah, I
absolutely.
think that's the
it.
Oh,
goal.
yeah, my kids will lose their mind to, You've Got a Friend in Me, and they'll be singing along and clapping along. And I think, Country Bears used to get like a 5-minute wait, except for the last day when it had a
Oh
seven
my
hour
gosh.
wait.
Honestly, yeah.
But I think this will breathe some new life into it. And again, I know that some of the purists are like, why would you put IP songs and, intellectual property, by the way, IP songs into this? But I think it will add a new foundation to it. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah,
Yeah, I feel like I trust Disney with this. And with the few little snippets of videos on some of the animatronic revamps and with this music, I feel like they're not, I mean, they're keeping the original spirit of the idea of
Yeah.
the show alive. They're just giving it an update, which, maybe it needed. I mean, might be sad if, Liver Lips isn't singing his blood on the saddle song. I might shed a couple tears for that, but yeah, I think it'll be cute. I'm sure it's going to be cute.
Well,
I bet they'll do a good job.
it's the Country Bear musical jamboree. So it's not like, Country Bears sing Disney classics. So I definitely do think it'll have some of that Country Bears charm from the
Yeah.
original.
Yeah.
So thanks everybody for listening. This is the Travel Genie Show. Catch you next time. Make sure you favorite us, like, share, all that kind of good stuff on your favorite podcast station. Platform. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.